Hello, you guys, and welcome back. We have a really awesome interview today with Alyssa. Maddie and I have both been in some capacity of her for a while. I told you this. Remember when I was working with like that other coach and I was literally assigned Alyssa in this basically like this portal where I was supposed to be ordering my supplements, but she like no longer worked with the people that I was working with.
Oh, I forgot about
So
that.
I'm like
Yeah.
emailing her because I'm like, I know you like I'm not even supposed to be working with you, but I have no idea why I'm assigned with you. Like I was just like asking her a question because I was like, the person that I'm working with has not answered. So like you do not even have to answer this, but like I'm not getting an answer somewhere else. And she did. And she was like, I'm so sorry that this happened. Like, I'm no longer working with them, blah, blah, blah. But like, here's my advice. But like, basically then like gave me like
Oh,
other like
wow.
it gave me like this insight. And that was like one of my uh introductions with her outside of like where she was previously working. And honestly, she's doing amazing. Much better,
Ye
I would say.
yeah. Are we not catching up anything really
We
quick?
are catching up.
Okay.
I had to drop that in there
Yes.
because I didn't I didn't know if she would feel like I don't know if she would feel comfortable saying like to asking, do you
Oh,
remember when you work? I won't say the name. But
gotcha.
it was just funny because like that was
That
my
is funny.
introduction to her in that space. And I was like, this girl's a genius. And then she ventured out on her own, which is amazing.
I know, and we'll just talk about the interview a little bit before we catch up on like other random things. But yeah, sometimes I was a client of Alyssa's for a year. We started working on getting off Humira, and then I'm now still within her. It's called FCS, functional. You think I should know the acronym, what it stands for, but her and Gillis are functional health coaches, and they have like a mentorship with other coaches, and we learn things and ask questions about clients and things like that. And I know she is a wealth of knowledge. Sometimes I forget just how much she knows and how
Yeah.
interconnected our health is, and just seeing outside the box. And I don't know, I thought it was a great conversation. And I know we're definitely going to have her on again to talk more about
Oh yeah.
birth control and autoimmune diseases and everything under the sun.
Oh yeah, I learned just from this short conversation with her. I learned so much just even about
Mhm,
myself because we
mhm.
talked about um just health as a whole. And I don't want to give like too much away. I want you guys to like hear this, but even like Maddie brought up something about me because of course Maddie does, and I actually like learned things. I was like, oh, like, and that's the type of people we like want to continue bringing on that are actually interesting. You might learn something about yourself, and then like you have a resource that you can go to. You're like, oh shit, I heard them
Mhm.
on Kind of Hot, Kind of Healthy. And like if Allie and Maddie are talking to them, they must be fucking reputable
Duh.
people. Cause like us guys. We're not gonna like just do stupid shit.
Well, I won't say that because there were some people I found on TikTok recently. I'm like, we should bring them on because they were like batshit crazy.
Oh, well, that I mean, okay, that we're not gonna like say, oh, they're a genius. We might say they're like batshit crazy.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say something. I wouldn't if I don't know what the words are, but I wouldn't bring someone
Recommend them.
I was yeah, I mean, like, if we do bring on people, like, I do wanna bring on that one girl who's a health coach, but also on OnlyFans just to talk about, that's not, like, batshit crazy, but
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, I wanna bring on different people too that are maybe more polarizing to get their stance on things and
Maddie's
how they're
always trying to be polarizing.
I'm not trying to be polarizing, but,
She's
like,
trying.
at that
She is
I'm
trying.
not.
She's like, I am here for the drama. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm right there with you. You know what? I'm stuck with this, so I guess I better get
I'm
on
not here
board.
for the drama. I'm not. I feel like I'm very non-dramatic with things, unless you wanna come at me about my opinions on having kids.
Oh,
I have a hard
yeah, then you have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
hard stance, which you should.
Yeah, like,
Like,
who I always wonder, like, why. And I posted about, just, like, how my opinion is, like, I don't wanna have kids for which you guys all know, like I like my time. I like to
You
spend
don't
money
need
on
a
me.
reason though. Like,
Right. I
I
just
don't
don't
want
have
to
kids.
have kids, period. Just like
True,
no is a
true,
full
true.
sentence.
Agreed.
Like I'm going to challenge you to just like I don't want to have kids, period. Not because you guys know, because like I want to
Okay.
have kids, period. That's it. You don't want to have kids, period. And you like
And
you don't need a reason. It's because you're human and you can make a choice.
you're right. You ain't wrong. You're right. But anyway, I said that on social media, and it's funny because this dude's never gonna listen to it.
And
I
if he
had
does,
a
fuck you.
he already unfollowed me, and I don't like to follow a lot of people on Instagram because I don't want to like sit there and consume.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow him, but he commented something like, "Oh wow, you're gonna lose so many followers for saying you don't want kids, and why get married if
Your demographic is women, is what he said.
yeah, and I'm gonna lose followers because I said I don't want kids." And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I lose a follower who gets mad at me for saying I don't want kids, then like that's their problem. Like I don't get mad at you because you're like, I want to have kids. I
Yeah.
love when people know what they want. So I'm
Right.
like, have kids. I'm not against having kids. I just don't want them.
Have
So
kids or don't. Like, I
yeah,
care
doesn't
more about if you take a shit and you don't wipe your ass. You know what I mean? Like, there are like bigger things
yeah, like why
than
would I
that.
care what you do with your life? It literally does not impact me one single bit.
No.
Anyway, a bunch of women came after him, rightfully so, and then he
So
unfollowed me.
iconic.
I
So
know.
iconic.
I
It was
know.
like, girl gang, rise the fuck up.
Literally. And one of them was why am I forgetting her name right now? Crap, let me look it up real quick. We had her on. Why am I forgetting? Yoga. Why can my brain not
Cassidy?
comprehend any? Cassidy, yes. We had Cassidy on, the amazing yoga. She owns
The
wow, I
amazing
have
yogi.
the amazing yogi. There you go. And she has a kid, and she
Yep.
commented like that's like it's not kind to like tear people down or something along those lines. Like
I
just
love
let her
her.
be. Yeah, she's like
It's not
such pure
kind
heart.
to
I
tear
know.
people down where I'd be like, fuck you. I'm like gonna like stab him.
I know, literally, she's such a pure heart. But yeah, and then he unfollowed me after that. I was like, bye. Like,
Good. Like,
you're,
why are you even here commenting in the first place? Like, this
mhm.
man is so entitled and he's coming to your comment section to tell you that you're wrong on your page, on your
Mhm.
opinions. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Did I ask you? Like,
Literally no.
so
Literally
bizarre.
no.
Oh my
It is
God.
bizarre.
Another
But there was a
reason men are stupid.
literally. I wanted to bring up this funny story before we jump into our
Yeah.
interview with Alyssa. So I was at the grocery store. Where was I at? Safeway, in Denver, and I was like crouched down, grabbing, like finding, looking through like spices, and this guy walked up to me, but like I had like the cart behind me, and like I was more in front of the cart, so like I kind of was taking up like the whole like grocery aisle. He walked up to me and was like, hello, like looking down and like very tall, like probably like, I don't know, 6'5" maybe or taller. And I was like, oh, hi, sorry. Like my first thought was, I am in the way. You're taking up the whole grocery lane. So I like back up all the way. And then he took a step forward. And like, I have a thing with like close talkers and with like just people in general who
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when you like get into my space, I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, like
No.
I don't like that. And so he took a step forward and he was like, "Oh, I just wanted to tell you like you're beautiful."
Oh.
And I know. Oh, terrifying.
Not in the grocery store, not when I'm in
I
a
know.
vulnerable crouch down position.
Well, I stood up, but then he took a step forward. So I felt like I was just like this tiny person. I was like, "Oh." And then he said, "You're beautiful and you have I love your complexion and like dark hair." And I was like I think I'm at this point where like just compliments on my appearance like don't do it for me. Obviously, like I'm married and I barely wear my ring because like I am very hard on things and like I know I'm gonna destroy it just if I wear it all the time. Could I wear a gummy ring? Sure, but like whatever. I was grocery shopping. Like I don't need to wear it all the time. Anyway, and I was like, oh, thank you. Like I don't think I've ever been hit on in public as an adult. Is that sad?
I
Either
don't know how to answer that.
I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe unapproachable because I'm just like RBF all the time, resting bitch
Right.
face. So
Right.
anyway, I was like, oh, thank you. Like, what do you freaking say to that? And
Go
then
to
he's,
Walmart at like 8 p.m.
oh,
You will be the hottest thing in there. Like literally, I'm just like I don't have a bra on. I'm wearing just like legit like pajamas, like essentially.
mhm.
And I'm just going to get like could be Diet Coke and toilet paper, like whatever. The men, they do not stop. It's like what are you doing? This is not the time where I'm looking my sexy
Mhm.
hottest, but apparently it is.
So what did I say after that? I said, oh, thank you. And they said,
Uh,
are you taken? And I was like,
ugh.
I know. Like, are you trying to kidnap me? That was like my thought. I was like, I'm married.
Ew.
Yeah, he was nice and then walked away. Like he wasn't like besides encroaching on my
Right,
personal space, wasn't like threatening or anything, just
right.
okay and walked away. So that was my fun experience of getting hit on in Denver. But yeah, I just wanted to tell that story because I was like,
If there are men listening, which there probably aren't, but if there are, if there's that one person listening, if you want to meet a woman, like off the dating apps, you're trying to, like do a little meet cute, don't get too close. Don't just immediately comment on her appearance. Like
yeah,
find a cute way to just like,
yeah,
oh hey, I was gonna reach for that. I don't know, like make something up because
yeah,
sure, people have to meet people in public,
yeah, yeah,
but don't be weird about it. Don't get too close
yeah.
to me.
Like,
Mm,
it's, like, not I just don't think anyone can say anyone's beautiful, like,
yeah.
if I was single, let me tell you, I would be so fucking hard to date because my standards are just so high now, like, I've morphed Joel into, like, the husband I want him to be, like, we've done some, like, workshopping,
Yeah.
of course, like, I've done a lot of workshopping because I was talking the other day, I was like, "We are so different from when we first met," which is good. Oh, sorry, I almost choked. Which is good because humans have to evolve. You have to
100%. And when
you
did you
need.
guys meet? Like how old were you? You were
I I was 18. He was
so an
27.
18-year-old versus where you are today.
10
I
years later.
I hope you would have evolved because
Yeah.
if people don't grow and don't change, it's like what are you doing? Like you're going to be that same shitty 18-year-old but at 28?
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So, but if he would have said, like you said, that's so nice. That's a lot less scary is like, oh, can you grab
Yeah.
that for me and ask
Like
some
yeah.
questions? Or maybe stroke my ego of like, oh, that's so cool, you and your something like that.
Sure.
That's so much more like, oh, you're pretty. Anyone could fucking say that. Try something different. Try a little harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And it immediately goes to you're a creep and you're just checking me out versus somebody trying to have a genuine conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Dating, this has been the dating tips corner from two women
Yes.
who have not dated in like 10 years.
Literally, it will be our 9-year anniversary this July of being together because I don't really care about married years. I'm
Ours
talking
will
about
be
together.
9 in September.
Oh, have
Oh
fun.
my God,
Twins.
look at us. We were like two cute little baby angels meeting our mans at the same time. See, the world just needed us to be together. Like cosmically,
Yes.
we are aligned and we were having the same experiences. Oh, I die.
Love it. Love it. Before we keep going forever, Allie has stuff to do today, and we're obviously recording this after our interview. So let's just get into an interview with Alyssa. Well, today we have Alyssa Tyler here, and I wanted to have Alyssa on because for a number of reasons. She's a registered dietitian that has additional certifications with functional medicine. She has been a great mentor to me in like the functional world. She helped me start my journey getting off Humira, slowly getting off of that. And we have a ton of questions about poop today. So we're excited to have you.
Thanks. It's by far, as you know, my favorite topic to talk about poop. So ready to jump in and chat
don't
all
you
things
have a
related.
don't you have a shirt about poop?
Oh yeah, it's called Free the Poopies. So it's all about like, let's not advocate constipation. Let's go to the bathroom every single day. I also have this little poop emoji that sits on my desk that says positive poo. Um, it's great.
Just as a reminder, like we need to have those reminders to like go poop.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I even have like the little bathroom signs, like 5 out of 5 would poop here again. And like I want my entire office filled with that stuff. Like future goal is to get a shelf, and like people have sent me the Everybody Poops book. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys know
Oh,
about
okay.
that. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't own it yet. Like I'm still like I still need to invest in it, but like instead of me having kids, because like Maddie, I don't want kids either. Like I'm just gonna have my own like poop glory shelves with
Love.
things like that in my office. Yeah, that's my plan.
I love
I love
that.
that.
Well, do you sell that shirt like on the regular, or is it like a
I
pre-order
do.
type
Yeah,
thing?
I have a ton of them. I have a ton of them at home.
Okay, you'll have to give us the link so we can put it
Yeah,
in
we'll
the
put that.
show
Sure.
notes if anyone
Yeah.
wants it.
Yeah,
Rep
and
that poop shirt.
you'll get some really awesome looks, I'll tell you. So if you are a bold, confident person that is not afraid to say free the poopies, this shirt is for you.
No,
I love that.
sounds
I
like I
love
need
that.
it. Before we kind of dump into,
Dump in.
talking
I
about,
know. You
I
should
did
first again.
it. I did not mean to say
I
that.
think
That
you
is
meant dive in, but it was iconic
jump.
and I love
It
it.
was jump and dump. It was my my speech impediment coming through. So you guys know about that. Before we get into that, I kind of want to talk about, you are a registered dietitian, and something that when I first met you is that I learned that you actually left the clinical world. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I want to preface by saying I do not have a problem with traditional medicine. I think in the functional space, there's a lot of bashing of doctors and what they do. And I have utmost respect for what physicians do, and they definitely serve a purpose when it comes to needing prescriptions at certain times in your life. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, my first job right out of school was working very clinically. I never worked inpatient, but I worked outpatient at the Cleveland Clinic for a little bit. I was more PRN, and then I went to another hospital where I was integrative health and worked there for about 3.5 years. And from the standpoint of what I did, I think the biggest reason that I left was I had very minimal touch points with my clients. They were coming into my office maybe once a month, maybe every few months. It was really dictated by insurance how often I could see them. And I didn't like that. And you and I, like all of us, know that as coaches, you can't just have one visit and that's going to be enough to help people. And even how I practice now, while I do one-time consults, I do give them the idea of like, hey, this is not going to solve all your problems from one single encounter of me like trying to take your entire medical history and symptoms you're experiencing and give you an action plan and say, good luck, like, hope everything goes well. So that was one of the biggest reasons I left. And the other was just, I kind of felt like a number, felt like a number. We're kind of pushing for how many patients are you seeing in a day? And I remember working in bariatric surgery as an outpatient dietitian. And with bariatric surgery, prior to getting approved for surgery, they sometimes need 3 months worth with a dietitian to get approved. And I would have 16, 17 patients back to back in my day
Wow.
of like 30-minute follow-ups. I had no lunch. Like sometimes my lunch would be covered with the patients that they needed to squeeze in. I'm like, this is not sustainable. One, it's like, am I truly helping them in 30 minutes? And two, it was not conducive to a lifestyle that I could keep up with. The other reason was no-shows. Like nobody likes to be no-showed. And sometimes you would have people not show up to their appointment because when a doctor is referring them over to see me, they're not invested. They're not paying for it out of pocket. There's no like emotional and financial tie to it. So I'd be sitting in my office like, what am I even doing? Am I even having a purpose by people like coming to see me? If they're only seeing me once, or they're not even coming at all. So
Yeah.
that was kind of why I left that space to begin with.
Yeah, that's so draining to just like sit there hoping they show up and then also knowing it's only a short time period and they're almost
Yeah.
there to just check off the box. Like they want this surgery. And it's like, okay, I have to do this to get the surgery, but maybe some patients were more invested in the like nutrition aspect. They really wanted to learn, but I would
Yeah.
probably assume that like a majority of people in 30 minutes, you're not able to do damn near anything.
No, no, it was honestly, it was like, let's get your weigh in.
Yep.
And with some of these heavier people who are wheelchair bound, like they're not mobile.
Oh
Um,
man.
they're carrying a lot of weight. And it was like sometimes 10 minutes out of a 30-minute appointment was like getting their weigh in,
Right.
because insurance needed to see that their weight was going down weekly and that they were trying from a weight loss perspective to get approved. I will say, and I absolutely loved working in bariatric surgery. Like I would have, if I would have been offered a full-time job, I would have done it. Like
Oh
I
wow.
think it's amazing. You know what? The reason I liked it was because I did get time with the patients. Like week
Yeah.
after week, I was meeting with them. They had that accountability. Then I saw them go through this major transformation from the surgery, especially the ones that were just so amazingly adherent and
Yeah.
wanted to keep the weight off, and see them through the follow-ups after surgery. Like that is what kind of, when I got out of that, that pushed me to start my own business that way, where we are doing weekly accountability. There's long-term commitment here. And that really introduced me to that model. So I'm not against bariatric surgery. I think it is successful for certain people if the mindset is right.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's totally because I feel sometimes I go down, like I get stuck on different sides of TikTok. Right now, for some reason, it's tiramisu TikTok. Every other goddamn video is tiramisu, and I don't understand why. For a while there, it was bariatric patients, and a lot of people in the comments would be like bashing them or all this sort of stuff. And I have a real life experience. One of my aunts got the surgery and she was like just in so much pain, like her hips were bothering her. She didn't have as high of a quality of life. Now she like is like she's kicking ass, taking names. She
Love
is
it.
so much happier, and you're exactly right. Works really well for some people. Others maybe they're not fitted for it, but that's like anything in life.
It
um
truly is. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, people like, it's the same thing with weight loss clients. Like the weight loss phase is super, super motivating, but they have to learn the right behaviors to be able to continue that afterwards. Like it's really, truly anything.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I like how you took aspects of the clinical setting and applied that to how you run your business in the way of like, we are doing accountability, we're doing weekly things, we're doing support. Because I do feel, like you said, in the functional space, a lot of people I see are a lot online are like totally anti, um, like, what would you call it? Like, not, it's like functional
Western
health and then
medicine.
yeah, that's the word.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not the word I was looking for, but like yes.
Yeah.
It's just so like opposite, but I like how you can speak
Yeah.
on both aspects and seeing
You
that.
have to.
Yeah.
You can't be ignorant to traditional medicine. And that's not functional medicine's job. And I do know a lot of people swing in that opposite direction.
Mhm.
And we are meant to bridge the gap. Like we are meant to bridge the gap between the diagnosis that someone is getting, because I can't diagnose someone with PCOS or autoimmune disease, but I take that diagnosis and I help the patient understand what they need to do to help support their body. I can't prescribe medication. Like none of that is possible without Western medicine and without a doctor. So it's just, I feel like where people go wrong with traditional medicine is they don't give a lot of guidance to their patients. And
Yeah.
I've had so many people that have come home with their diagnosis and had to go to Google, and they learn more from Google on what to do than actually getting advice from their doctor. And that's what is so disheartening for me to hear. And I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing, whether it's with yourself or with your patients. It's like, that is not how it should be. Really not how it should be.
Yeah.
I always think back to the story of my rheumatologist, the first one, and thank God he retired because rheumatologists have like the stigma of like terrible bedside manner.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is they really do. But he said to me, I repeat this all the time, but don't gain and lose weight like Oprah Winfrey. I was like, thanks. Like meanwhile, and like I'm not gonna sit here and be like he looked terrible. Meanwhile, his health was not any better than mine. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, thank you for the solid advice. I will take that. Like,
Mhm.
that's the
Oh.
advice that I got, and that's partially what led me to starting to work with you as a like from a client perspective and as a coach perspective
Mhm.
because I wasn't given any help. I asked like, what food should I avoid to help with my skin issues? Oh, none. There's nothing, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense, and it's just a matter of they're not trained on those things. They are trained
Correct.
on other things that take a lot of time. So I wanted to bridge that gap to feel better without having to add more medications to the list I was already on.
Correct. And that's you nailed it. That is literally how they're trained. They are trained to listen to someone's symptoms, label them with a diagnosis, and give them a medication. There are some fantastic doctors that start to bring in supplementation and diet, but that just literally is how they're trained.
Yeah. And that's, like you said, having to go home, being like left with more questions, and then the feeling of overwhelm sits in. And it's like, okay, where am I supposed to go? I have
Yeah.
this issue and I have no idea how to actually go about solving it or doing things that are going to lessen the symptoms that I'm having. And it is really frustrating, especially as women, because I remember going to my PCP when I was like probably 11 or 12, and my period was like so heavy, and then it was like crazy irregular, like it was all over the goddamn place, and I was like put on birth control at like 13. And it's just like, and then I was on it until I was like, I think like I just stopped taking it when I was like 20. And I was with now he's my fiance, but I was like, I'm not on birth control. Like, I'm not taking it because like
Yeah.
I was like a raging bitch. It was like
Oh, yeah.
so bad for me. And then when I got off it, I was like a delight.
Yeah. Not the first time. I was the same way. I honestly was
Yeah.
the same way. When I first started dating Chris, I'm like, I wasn't on birth control. I'm like, maybe I should be on it. And I was psychotic. Psychotic.
Mm.
Like, I am surprised. And I remember us like being on the staircase, having a serious conversation of like, look, like if you continue to act like this, it is not gonna work. And I got off
Yeah.
it immediately, and I have not, for the entire 6.5 years we've been together, have not been on birth control and have not got pregnant. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be on those things.
That's like a whole conversation we could
Yeah,
have
I know.
just about that. Like, 'cause I know we wanted to talk about poop today, but like
Yeah.
that'll be part two of our interview next
It's all
time.
I know,
connected
right?
though. You know that. Like, if
Yep.
your gut
Yeah,
health is a mess, your hormones are gonna be a mess as well.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
When I was how old was I? 16, 17. I stopped getting a period and but I was in gymnastics and we were
Yeah.
training like not just like, working out. We were training literally 24 hours a week. We weren't given any coaching, advice, anything on nutrition. So I was literally like a stick.
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting a period and it was I'm forgetting the name. Anna Maria. Is that what it is?
Amenorrhea.
Amenorrhea.
Amenorrhea. And that's what I was experiencing where I was so thin, I literally did not have enough body fat to have a period. And my doctor put me on birth control. It was like, this is going to regulate it. And my mom didn't know, like she's doing the best she could by just taking me to the doctor.
Yeah.
Um, And that's what they did for me when that wasn't the issue. The issue was I didn't have enough body fat, I wasn't eating enough food for how much I was training.
Yeah. It happens. It happens a lot. And you know, you put your trust into someone that is in a medical profession to guide you in the right direction. And that is the most amazing thing that I see in our society nowadays is we're becoming much more advocates for our
Yeah.
and putting the research in. And you know, I see a lot of people pushing this kind of stuff on Instagram, and I think it's amazing. I think that that awareness is definitely building, and the fact that people are questioning being put on birth control or being on birth control for X amount of years, like that's really cool to see, because it wasn't that way when I was 16, 17.
No, this was like, this is the answer. This is going to fix your acne, fix your painful periods, it's going to be easier because then you'll
Yeah.
know when it's coming. That's what they
Yeah.
would say.
You will do anything if you have painful periods and you have acne. Like from
Yeah.
someone that had really bad acne in high school, like I would have done anything to get
Oh
rid of
yeah.
it, to not
Oh yeah.
experience that like self-confidence decrease from having that.
Yeah. I remember going to my doctor and I was like, my acne is so bad. It wasn't bad enough that she was like, oh, you can start Accutane. But I was like, give me whatever the fuck, because like it was so
Yeah.
bad. I had such bad scarring. I like felt like a goddamn pizza face 24/7. Makeup didn't cover it. It was just like, so like you're just like, how am I supposed to feel good about myself? So
Yeah.
you do whatever. And it worked. I don't know what the hell it was. I can't remember. I didn't question anything,
Yeah.
but
Like this
it's
is
just,
great.
I was like,
Bleach,
whatever.
straight bleach to the
Yeah, I was
face.
like, anything. But it's so
Yeah.
true. And now,
Yeah.
like, I think as we are growing up, and if, younger women that are coming up, it's like, one of the things that like is really cool about like social media is that like more women are talking about these sorts of things, that it does create that awareness, which is like, honestly, that's why sometimes like social media is such a beautiful thing, because like people get to share those experiences and help other people, which I love.
For sure.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have this wrong with me. I have this wrong with me.
Yes.
Oh, there must be that wrong with me because I'm seeing that person has it. Like sometimes
That's true.
it's too much.
Yeah.
Before we keep going on forever about birth control, because I know we could, let's talk about a little bit just about pooping in general.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to have a daily bowel movement?
Yeah. So it's honestly, it's amazing how many people do not have a daily bowel movement that don't even think twice about it. And I think that's why like we want to bring awareness to having daily bowel movements. Like you should be pooping every single day. Like you should be having the most glorious poop where you feel like you lost a few pounds. Like that is fulfilling. Like if you are not pooping, if you're not emptying fully, there is a problem. Poop should not look like rabbit turds, like what Maddie's cleaning up in the apartment right now. Like it should not be like that. And there's so many people that say like, I am pooping every day, and it's like the tiniest little pebbles that are coming out of them. So when we're thinking about detoxification, any kind of way that we're getting rid of toxins in the body, the first way that we do it is by daily bowel movements. That is the easiest way that we're excreting stuff. So if someone is not pooping, not only are those toxins not getting out, they're recirculating in your system, and they're going to cause issues that could be like, it could be acne, it could be estrogen dominance where you have a super heavy cycle, super painful cycle. So we need some way to get rid of the toxins in our system, and pooping is the best way to do it.
Yeah. I like, honestly, okay, so I had a question because I watched this podcast, and this the host, he's like, been on a weight loss journey, whatever, and he's like, oh yeah, and my poops are getting so small. It's like my body's using all of the energy, and so like I'm not pooping that much. And I like literally, I was like dying. I'm like, oh baby, like that is actually not what we want to see. So he like slams Metamucil, and he's like, no, I like have great poops. But like, what is your, like, for people that are like struggling and they're listening to this, they're like, I do not poop a lot, but I see fiber supplements, I see things. What is your take? Because, we we work with clients that a lot of times they say they poop, and then we look at like the stool chart and they're like, oh yeah, it's like little rabbits. So
Yeah.
what is your take on things like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. The reason like he was needing to take Metamucil first of all is like when you're in a deficit, and this is very, very common to happen, you're having less food coming in, less
Yep.
food coming in, you're not going to have as much bulk to push things through. So that was a big reason why he was like, oh, let me reach towards the Metamucil because it is going to be something that aids in the defecation process. It will. But it's not the first order of importance. You know, when we're thinking of regular constipation tips for someone, you have to think in order of water, hydration. How much water are you drinking? Then you might do your fiber intake. Because sometimes people honestly get constipated because their fiber is 40 grams and they're drinking 40 ounces of water. It's
Yep.
like way too much bulk. But any type of fiber supplements, honestly, it's a waste of money. Like you do not need to take a supplement to get fiber in. I, even when I was in a deficit, was easily able to get 25 to 30 grams of fiber.
Yeah.
Get chia seeds, get some flax seeds, throw 3 tablespoons in your smoothie, like you are gonna get 15 grams of fiber just from that. So there's ways to do it that are outside of eating a fiber supplement. The only time that I might recommend one is if someone has horrible diarrhea where we need to bulk up the stomach
Right.
a little bit. And, you know, they can't stomach food because they're so sick and they're so miserable. We might use that temporarily, but it's not, you know, we need to understand why they're having diarrhea in the first place.
Right, exactly.
Mm.
Like what is actually causing the symptom, where a lot of the time, like the way most people think about it is like, oh my God, I'm having this symptom. Let me slap something on it versus
Yeah.
going to the source. Yeah. Anytime I like think about that, or like when talking to clients like about their poop, it's like, I can't understand how you don't have an enjoyable poop. I am like the most regular person in the world, and it like is the greatest feeling in the world.
It is. It is. You take it for granted when you start to get constipated. Like if you're
Yeah.
traveling and you're drinking less water, it's like now I know what it's like when someone is not
Yeah.
having poop. Because yeah, I think it's the most fulfilling thing to literally sit on the toilet and you just have the best poop ever. Seriously. Like I get so proud, and then I get so proud when other people share like I had the best poop. Like I love it. I love hearing that stuff because when you don't have that, you don't
Yeah.
understand what you're missing. Well, you do, but it's like I don't know how to get to that. And that's what I
Yes.
think to help people with is like let's have those rock star bowel movements. Seriously.
When it comes to using things like Metamucil or Fiber One bars, stuff like that,
Mm.
what I know I used to pound those brownies like growing up. I was like,
Same.
oh, it's
Same.
like
Yeah,
a freebie, you know. It's
I
like
know.
chocolate brownie fiber. Ooh, that's all they
Yeah.
get you. But what ingredients are in there that you're kind of like, ooh, this is not the best?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, if something has to label as a high fiber food, it's not going to be a great source of fiber. Like if you have a supplement that says high fiber gummies or like anything like that, it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to buy something like that. And when you look at the fiber that's in it, it is outrageous. Like you should not be eating like what was it? I feel like it was
Those sour gummy, like the sweet or whatever they're called.
oh, I
Do you
don't
remember
know.
seeing those? They
No.
look like Swedish fish, but they're like
Oh,
the
yeah, like a
their fiber.
healthier,
Yeah,
yeah.
it had like 20 grams of fiber or something in it. My
Oh
friend ate like a
wow,
couple, and she was like, "Oh," and she
died.
had like a no, no, she had a 4-degree tear when she
Oh
had her
no.
son. And so now she like does a lot of PT and that sort of stuff, but she like will shit her pants at any second.
Yeah.
So she had them, and then she was
Oh.
like, "Oh my God, I need a toilet. Like, this is so bad." And I was
Yeah.
like, "What did you eat?" And I was like, "There's so much fucking fiber in
Yeah,
this."
there is. So funny story, when I first started dating Chris and he had slept over at my apartment, I was like an ambassador for Orgain,
Yeah.
and Orgain has protein bars. And so I'd get like a ton of samples. And he like it was right before our CrossFit class. He needed to eat something. He's a guy, so one little bar is not going to be enough. So he had like 4 to 5. He's going to be mortified if he hears this. He had like 4 to 5 Orgain bars, and those have a ton of fiber, like fiber supplement, like fiber powder in it. He was so gassy. I heard him leave the apartment and fart all the way down the hallway to my elevator. And the poor guy, like, because we first started dating, like, I don't care about gas. Like, that is just like a normal thing for me. But he held it in for so long, like, I just heard him fart all the way. But yes, like, those are the kinds of things that, like, if your bar, because it's always the diet food, the food that they're trying to lower the net carbs that have all that added fiber in it. So if you see that your bar has like 10, 15 grams of fiber plus like sugar alcohols that are in there. And like I used to eat those things when I'd be in my bikini prep. And
Mm-hmm.
like, no wonder I was so bloated and so gassy. And like,
Mhm.
processed proteins like that, if someone is over consuming it, is one of the easiest causes of gut issues. Easiest
Yeah.
thing to remove if you're having bloating and constipation and gas, like get rid of the protein. That's not natural.
I had a friend who kept eating bars, and I can't remember what other things. I think like going to Starbucks and getting coffee and whatnot with
Yeah.
sugar-free things. And finally, it took her months to figure out she could not handle sugar alcohols.
Mm.
As soon as she would have something with it, she would get like a headache. Her stomach would hurt. She would look like 6 months pregnant. Like it
Yeah.
was bad. And if
Yeah.
Phew.
she would have kept eating them, she would still have these issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why like an audit of someone's diet is the very first thing that I do when someone has GI issues, because you don't want to do tests. Why would you do testing right away if like the easiest and most cost-effective thing you can do is take out those unnecessary ingredients from the diet and see how someone reacts?
Yeah.
When is
That
it?
is.
When is a good? Oh, go ahead, Allie.
No, I'm good. I was just like, that's a good way to start.
When is a good time? Like, when would you say, okay, we need to do a GI test and essentially test what's going on in your stomach?
Yeah, I think like first what I do is I audit their diet, like I said. Second thing is like really making sure that their dietary habits are good. They're not overeating, they're not eating super fast, like those basics. The two biggest and most common things that tend to lead to any kind of gut infection is usually low stomach acid and leaky gut. So a lot of times I'm focusing on those two things first, because if someone has low stomach acid, they're going to be more susceptible for bacterial overgrowth. So I tend to work on that first. And then if someone has leaky gut, they're going to have more reactions to foods. They're going to have more bloating. They're going to have maybe acne or joint pain, whatever it might be. And after I do all of that from a lifestyle and supplemental and dietary approach, then I say, okay, if we're not getting anywhere, or let's say they've already done those things and they're coming to me with all of those good habits built up, then I'm going to dive into stool testing just so that we're not wasting any more time and getting some real concrete answers.
Hmm.
Can you explain what leaky gut is for people that don't know?
Yeah, leaky gut is like the layman's term for intestinal permeability. So your intestines have junctions, and these junctions are meant to be semi-permeable. Like it needs to let nutrients through. It's a good thing. Everyone's gut has some degree of permeability, but these junctions become widened from a number of different factors. It could be from diet. So gluten contains a protein called gliadin, which can actually increase those junctions. Stress can do it, alcohol can do it, antibiotics, birth control, toxins in the environment. There, so that's why it's like everybody probably has some degree of intestinal permeability. But the wider those junctions are, now we're not just allowing nutrients through, we're allowing maybe adversities to food to come through, like food aversions, food sensitivities. We're allowing antibodies to be formed, which can cause an attack against your thyroid. Like Hashimoto's, a lot of times I see is from leaky gut. That's why people that
Oh,
go
wow.
free and gluten-free tend to do well. Or
Mm.
it can cause joint pain. I've seen rheumatoid arthritis be caused by leaky gut. But you essentially create this environment of just intense inflammation, whether you get gut infections from those pathogens getting through, or you start to cultivate autoimmune disease, because there's three things that lead to autoimmune disease. One is leaky gut, one is genetics, and the other is stress. So that's why leaky gut is such an important thing to focus on from the standpoint of literally everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
and it's I hope everybody hearing this, like they like listen to what Alyssa is saying, but don't feel like you need to like start trying to like solve all of these problems, because you mentioned, oh, everybody probably has like to some degree leaky gut, but I think a lot of people when they hear like healing and doing all these things, and like it's really trendy right now. Maddie and I
Yeah.
were talking about just like in the wellness space, it can be just so overwhelming, and everybody thinks, oh, I must have this problem, so I should do the most because I want to be in my wellness era. I want to just feel so good from the inside out, but they don't actually like
Mm,
do it in a way that's sustainable.
correct.
And
Yeah.
then you mentioned food aversions with like leaky gut.
Mhm.
What, like, why is that?
Yeah. So the biggest reason is essentially it's a tie to the immune system.
Mm,
So few reasons where someone starts to get food sensitivities is one is the leaky gut, and then two is actually from low stomach acid. So if
mm,
someone has low stomach acid or low digestive ability to be able to break down a food, the immune system takes over. White blood cells take over. And so
yep.
white blood cells are taking over your digestive process. You're gonna react to everything. And that's why it becomes so frustrating when people have food sensitivities or gut issues, because they're like, I can't pinpoint what it is. I can't
Mm,
figure out what it is that I'm reacting to. Sometimes I have gluten and I'm fine. Sometimes I have dairy and I'm not fine. So it is immune system based. And the more stressed someone is, the more we're causing that risk for the immune system to shift into what's called Th17, which is a very big immune system that's based on autoimmune and leaky gut and stress.
mm.
So, is it safe to say if you have food aversions that you can, fix them?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Food sensitivities are not something that should last forever. You are never meant to remove foods for the entirety of your life. You
Mm.
absolutely should be able to reintroduce them. And that is the downfall, I think, of how a lot of people practice, and I see it with other coaches too, honestly, where someone does get Hashimoto's and they take out gluten-free, like gluten and dairy from someone's diet forever. And while yes, their antibodies are going down, now they're stuck with eating gluten-free and dairy-free for the rest of their life, and they're afraid. They're
Yeah.
afraid to
Mhm.
reintroduce it. And if you heal the gut appropriately, you get rid of infections, you fix the leaky gut that's causing that reaction, you're
Mhm.
fine. Like you'll be able to eat those foods just fine.
Not to put Allie on the spot because I know she has this, but let's say you have celiacs. Is that something you can heal from?
Yeah, celiacs is an IgE allergy, so no. But it does tell us
Oh,
a lot
okay.
about her immune system, because any type of allergies, it is an immune system shift. So
Mm.
there could be other things that are paired with that. Do you have like environmental allergies as well?
Oh, so bad. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that means that means your immune system is actually shifted to what's called Th2 dominance. And there's something that's causing that. There is
Yeah.
something that is causing that maladaptation where we might actually be able to push your immune system in the right direction. And some of this stuff might go away. Can't say for sure that the celiac disease will go away, but it's really interesting. It might be worth like trying and pushing that in the right direction for you.
So I talked about this before. I had worked with a coach previously, and we identified some hormone issues and whatnot.
Mhm.
And the way that she had coached was
Oof.
so overwhelming and intense, and I just didn't feel like I had the this space or the confidence to say, this is real overwhelming, this is not
Yeah.
working. And so I started working with Kelsey just for like fat loss because I gained so much weight in such a short amount of time. And so part of me is so afraid to trust people again, like in that way, like with your health. But I was voice memoing Maddie about something, and she was like, "Yeah, you would benefit. You would totally benefit." And I'm like, yeah, I am so sure I would. We have to cross that bridge when it feels appropriate because like for a lot of I think I was like diagnosed when I was like 14 or 16 and I just like kind of took it as that and my mom was just like yeah like I don't know what to do but like just we'll eat gluten free whatever.
Yeah.
But it would be so interesting and really exciting in a way to like be able to dive down that path because like even with seasonal allergies, I'm dying like 24/7. So if I could like feel better and do it in a way where I'm not like jacked up on all like different types of like medication.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that. And you bring up a good point because honestly, everyone has to have their season for doing
Yeah.
something like this. And it's never my intent when working with someone to stress them out. And I've
Right.
identified in people like, hey, we need to take a break maybe from doing
Yeah.
it. Like there gets to be a point where it's like mental health is number one priority. And we probably don't need another protocol. We probably just need to chill out for a little bit.
Mm. I love that. I love that you said that because in my last experience, it just felt so clinical where it was just like we're doing
Yeah,
this, doing this,
rigid.
and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess I don't really, okay, sure. And it
And
was
then
a
you're
lot.
stressed about it.
I
Like
was,
you're creating more stress.
yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, the scale is really starting to go up, and I'm a little bit stressed about that. And it was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, we're not focused on weight loss right now. And I was like, okay, sure. Okay, for sure. And yeah, so I like that you mention a mental health component and also just like understanding like you are able to communicate with your clients that like I don't want to cause more stress. This is supposed to
Yeah.
heal. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the same exact thing. That's why I'm so empathetic with my clients about it because I was doing very rigid protocols for a long time and I wasn't getting better. Like I was not getting better. And I just started working with a coach now, but I took like a good solid year off from working
Yeah.
with a coach because my mental health was not okay. I was anxious all the time. I was burnt out from work. Like I knew that the way that I was treating my body was not kindly. And it's such a hard thing to identify, but it's the best thing you can do is take a break. Like that's why it's like, yeah, we can follow a protocol all day, but if we're still like super stressed and our lifestyle is not conducive, like that's our
Mhm.
priority. That's what we gotta do.
Yeah.
I always think like when people hear my story, they're like, "Well, what'd you do? Like, how'd you get better?
Yeah.
Or how are you getting better?" And they, "Oh, I want to avoid medicine or X, Y, and Z." And I always bring it back to I think maybe I'm projecting this, but sometimes I feel like I sound like I'm like down with Western medicine. I
Yeah.
don't mean that because when I initially got sick and it was so fast, like in 9 months, I went from kind of how I look now to gaining 30 pounds of just straight fat. I was experiencing suicidal ideation. Like I was as low as I could go. I couldn't go any lower. Medicine saved my life at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Without Humira, I don't know where I would be now. I would not be here in this position.
100%.
So I think for Allie, I hope I never come off this way, but I don't ever want to seem like I'm pushing someone to dive into these things, because you have to be in the right place to
Right.
start that journey.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
No one can, even just fat loss in general. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times, I'm sure we can all agree here, we want it more than the client or the potential client. We want them to feel better more than they do. We're like, come on, why don't you see how much better it could be, you know? So it's something you have to decide wherever you are on that journey. And I try to be empathetic to everyone with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, your job is to work with your patients. And what is the most realistic thing? What is the thing that's not going to stress them out? We of course are going to challenge and get them to think differently, but I never fearmonger for someone to go off of birth control or go off their medications if they're not ready. I might say after a certain point, like, we're not really getting anywhere. And I do think the medication is limiting us. I will speak up and say that. But it has to be their choice. And that's what I try to teach other coaches, is how you can support your clients when they're still on those medications, by just giving them the awareness of maybe nutrients it might be depleting, or the risk of leaky gut because of them being on it. Like, support your body in other ways while you're still on something like that.
That is so key. And probably what a lot of, maybe not a lot, but maybe some people in the functional health space, like maybe they are not taking that into consideration. And that is a really big stressor. And it's a big decision to come off of a medication that you've either, you've been on, or it really helped you. Like in Maddie's case, it's a really big decision. And it's, there have been, people like in my personal life, I take an antidepressant and a mood stabilizer, and someone in like very close life was like, oh, but like that made you like gain weight, so like you really should just like try and come off of it. And I was like,
Oh, that's nice.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know about that, but I'm glad that you can make decisions for yourself.
Right.
And I was like, yes, it did make me gain weight, and maybe, it did a number on maybe, parts of my health, but it's also, you have to find that balance of like, where are you going to be the most like stress-free? And then if you can start building in other habits and focusing on your health in different ways, then kind of crossing that bridge when you get there. I like that approach. It seems realistic and like digestible.
Yeah, for sure is. And I think everyone has been on some type of medication for that reason. Like, it is scary. It is scary to come off it. I was put on birth control at age 16 because I lost half the blood in my body from a cycle that would not clot.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was scary.
So terrifying.
It was horrifying. And I had never had a heavy cycle. Like, this came out of left field. I remember crawling to my parents' door at 4 o'clock in the morning, covered in blood. Like, my entire butt was covered in blood. And it was like one blood count away from being paralyzed when they got me to the hospital. I had a blood transfusion. I had a DNC. And every time I say I had a DNC, everyone thinks that I miscarried and like had my uterus scraped out. And I was like, this whole, like, it was scary. It was scary to, I didn't really think twice about going on birth control, but I literally say that it saved my life. Like, it's allowed me to not be worried about a menstrual cycle that was going to kill me potentially, or paralyze me.
Wow.
And I stayed on it for far too long, 15, 16 years, but it made me less fearful of having a bleed again. And it served its purpose for me.
Holy shit. That is so intense. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
have
didn't
no
even
idea
know
what
that.
the cause was, if you're gonna ask that. Like,
Yes.
no idea. And that my brain now is like, I need to know. Like, I need to.
I
Like,
know you do.
I literally wrote the hospital, like I did a record release to see if they would send me like any kind of like, I know they did not test my hormones. I already know that. But I just out of curiosity want to know like what did they even look into that was possibly like a cause of this? Because the only explanation that I got was I went through menopause at a young age.
What?
A select percentage of the population goes through menopause, and that's what caused my hormones to be out of whack and for me to bleed.
At 16?
Yeah, that was like just shy of my 16th birthday when this happened.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
But if
the only solution was birth control.
Wow.
okay, but if you went through menopause at a young age, how are you having a period now?
It's a good question, Maddie.
What? I need the answers.
I know. And I mean, I was at a good hospital, like I was Cleveland Clinic, like a
Yeah.
very reputable, good hospital when this happened. My gynecologist was amazing, but very traditional ways of
Right.
educating people. And like, even when I was older, and I had hypothalamic amenorrhea as well. And I just remember being asked, like, well, why do you care that you don't have a menstrual cycle? Like, isn't it kind of nice for you?
That is,
Like,
people always say that.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm like, yes
God.
and no. I mean, shouldn't I be having one?
totally. Like it's, when you're a little bit younger, you're high school, college, it's like, "Oh, fuck yeah. Like I don't have to
Yeah,
worry about that." And then you're like,
Totally.
oh, something is actually not right, that my body is
right.
not allowing me to have this.
Correct.
Mm. I feel like some of my girlfriends would probably even still say that now, like, oh, that's what, I'm whatever. I don't have to deal with it. And I'm like,
Yep.
no, like we are
Yeah.
worried about that.
Yeah. Even like the IUDs, like people not having a bleed from being on it. It's like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
it's like, what is happening in your system that you don't know?
Right.
I mean,
Holy.
it's even if you remember Alyssa, whenever I got my copper IUD out, and
Yeah.
my gynecologist was like, "Well, the copper IUD doesn't cause any it doesn't have any hormones or cause
Yeah.
any issues." I'm like, "Well, actually, it does. You're trying to
It
tell me
can.
yeah, a foreign object will not cause any problems in my body, none at
And
all."
risk of copper toxicity, which can impact your bleeds and your hormones.
Yeah.
And during that time when I had the copper IUD, it was like a 2 for 1, not because of the copper IUD, but I had like rabbit like turds.
Yeah.
So I was not getting any of the extra copper out, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. So it
Yeah.
was like causing more issues in my body. So anyway, long story short, I'm finally going to get it out, and you know the story already, but she went to pull it out and only the string came out. And she goes, "This isn't good." I'll go, "What do you mean it's not good?" And she goes, "Well, we have two options. I can keep trying. It's going to be painful, or you can go under in the OR." I was like, "I am not fucking going under. Not, no, that's insane. That's insane."
No, I would
So
go under. I would go under. They're not giving
I
you
would,
any fucking pain
Like
meds.
no numbing agent?
They don't
Like,
scoop.
nothing.
No, that is like rip out your body.
So she probably like clasped onto it and then fell off of it 4 times. And every time it felt like someone yanking down. And
oh God.
I was just gripping the table so hard. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Just do it."
I feel like everybody's probably squeezing their vagina right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
was.
I am like
Yeah.
so scared for you.
Yeah.
That is so horrible. I mean, you know what?
Mhm.
It's out now. You have
Yeah.
done the
Oh,
hard
yeah.
thing. But in
Almost a
that
year
moment,
now.
were you so scared? I would be so scared.
Oh, I wanted to die. I was holding back tears. I was
Oh
trying not to
God.
scream. And when she pulled it out, you know how they're supposed to look like a T? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was like all crooked. She goes, "That was probably causing some issues in there." I'm like, "You think?"
Yeah. No shit.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Oh, poor
I
thing.
know.
Yeah, there is
Good
such a thing
experience.
as like copper IUDs causing problems, and your copper to zinc ratio is super important when it comes to hormones. So I don't know. I guess, yeah, it's a better alternative, but it's still like anything has risks.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going back to kind of the beginning of this conversation. Especially as women, we're just so much more aware now. I remember a couple years ago, a lot of like big creators that I followed in the, health and like wellness industry, they were all getting like their breast implants out because they were like just all everybody was like collectively falling apart at the same time. And it's like 10, 15 years ago, here's my ass being like, my boobs are so small. I'm like, I'm getting a boob job. I don't give a fuck. And now
That'd be
today
the
I'm
worst
like,
thing you can do for your immune system.
oh no, now today I'm
Real?
like,
Oh, yeah.
I would rather die than like one, have
Same.
big boobs, but also like put something like that into my body. But it's just because so much more awareness. Like I remember seeing all of these people and I was like, holy shit. Like that is, I never like there was no awareness about, there was no talking about it. And now I'm like low key, I might be sitting here with like fake boobs if people were never talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just sad to me. I mean, it's sad to me
Yeah.
how common it is. And it's also like, man, like, can you imagine going through that process, spending that money to get the breast implants in the first place? Then all of a sudden your body rejects them and you have to go through this crazy phase of puffiness and weight gain and feeling sick and tired. And then you have to pay another amount of money to get them removed.
Oh,
It's horrible, horrible.
Yeah, it is like the thought of that is the financial burden, but then you're also like, I would do anything to feel better. But then think about like some
Yeah.
of the people that are like they just can't fucking afford it. And they're like, all right, I guess I'm doing my best to save up to get these goddamn things out. And I'm like feeling so sick every day. Oh,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stuff your bras, ladies. If you want bigger boobs, just don't do it.
can you
I,
talk a little bit about why that happens? Like when
yeah,
people
of
get that
course.
done?
And the reason I said that Allie wouldn't be a good candidate is because she's already Th2 dominant. Th2 is just like an immune system maladaptation. And breast implants shift your immune system more towards Th2.
Mm.
So if someone is already, that's why like a lot of people that get breast implants that tend to get the BII are ones who already have a maladaptation of Th2 immune system. So when they get them, maybe not at first, they don't like notice it, but then they get sicker and sick because it just keeps pushing more and more into that immune system. So some people get them and they're fine because it actually like maybe they were a little bit more Th1 dominant and getting the boobs helped them balance Th1 and Th2. But there's some like that's why like it's so important to have these conversations or just really understand your body or possible risks before getting it.
Wow.
Anytime you go into Th2, now you're more at risk for antibody production, and just like a lot of inflammation overall.
Is it the like silicone? Like, is it what is it?
I don't know if it's necessarily like the ingredients. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. I don't think it's relative to that. I think it's more so I don't know. That's a good question. I can't even give you a rationale to it. I just know in my training that they just had said like vaccinations shift your immune system towards Th2 and breast implants switch your immune system to Th2, but I don't know really like the reason behind that methodology.
Mm, Good
That
thing you
is
didn't get
so
them, Allie.
interesting. Like, low key, because I always remember I was like, maybe after college, like, because I'll get money for college and then like boom. And somewhere in that time, probably like freshman, sophomore year, I started seeing these things. Um, and I was like, oh, and then I tried to talk to my friend about it. I was like, you follow so and so. Like, did you see that? And she goes, oh my God, yeah. She's like so sick. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's a good thing. We should hold off on like getting our boobs done. And she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's totally. And then now she has a son, he's 3, and she's like, I don't know if we're gonna have any more kids, but like I won't get breast implants, but like I might like need like a lift. And I'm like, that's the route. You know what? We're going there after.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's like the cool thing about social media. Yes, it can be overwhelming, but it allowed like it gave these women a space to like share their story. Because like where else would I have like learned this, like being like in college? Like I probably wouldn't have. So
I
that
mean,
is
you should
so
learn it
interesting.
from your doctor.
Well, Yeah, we say that, and then I'm like, my doctor was just like, birth control, you're fat, take
Yeah.
this, and I'm just like,
Well, yeah, and of course, when you go to a plastic surgeon, like they're gonna be all for you wanting to get breast implants.
so that was a question that I don't know if like you would know this or had anybody share this with you, but like when you go to like a consult for plastic surgery, they obviously give you certain risks of complication to some point, but I doubt it's ever mentioned of like what rejection can look like or things like that.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't know, but I don't think so. Or it's just, I think a lot of times we have the mentality of it's not going to happen to me. So
Yep.
maybe you have that risk, and people know. I mean, there's like we said, there's so much circulating data on this right now. I think people know, but I think people just think we're the exception to something happening.
Totally. Totally. Oh my God. Totally. That is, except my brain is always like, it will happen to me because like
Yeah,
that
same.
anxiety. But I remember one time I was getting a CAT scan and they did contrast and they were like, oh, you'll feel really warm. You might feel like you're peeing, but like that doesn't happen to a lot of people. And as soon as I was like, I got out and I was like, Mom, I think I peed my pants. And she goes,
Yeah,
no, you didn't, but it totally felt like that.
it
Uh,
does. I had that experience too.
So
that's
bizarre.
that's exactly why, not the cat scan peeing thing, but the mentality of it won't happen to me. Why I won't get Botox, even though like I love
Yeah,
everything like anti-aging, because
Yeah.
I'm like, my body, I am trying to heal so much. Like that
it's
would be the
more
thing I
toxins
do.
in you.
Yes. And I go back like 20 steps. Like I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't be that vain. So I refuse to do Botox because of
I
that.
love that you wear your frownies with pride.
Oh
I
yeah.
I
All the time.
love those. And to be fair, I never understood how they worked. You would just wear them and I'm like, I have no idea what that does. And then
Yeah.
I saw somewhere like the creator of it explaining how it actually works and I was like, I'm bought in. I don't need Botox. I am bought
Mhm.
into the frownies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Botox is so expensive. Like I can't even
Mhm.
imagine keeping up with that lifestyle, like at all.
No. It's like, you know
No.
what? Let's put like that money elsewhere. Let's
Yeah,
let's let's we're
Yeah.
gonna age gracefully. We're gonna do all the things that we can do and not put more shit into our bodies that are like
right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I've done a ton of research, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, on when it comes to wrinkles, and between frownies and sauna, exercising, and rebounding is actually really good for your
Mhm.
skin too.
what's
100%.
So
rebounding?
like jumping rope or jumping on a trampoline is
Oh,
really good.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so like collagen production. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
instead of just shooting something up into your skin, you can do something that's going to benefit your whole body.
Right. Yeah, it's lymphatic drainage at
Yeah.
its that's why when you would like roll your skin, the gua sha technique, like that gets rid of
Hmm.
swelling. So
Yep.
if you have a lot of
Hmm.
like fluid that's built up on your face or just toxins that are in this area, absolutely. Like doing those things can be helpful for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Hydration just goes
Yeah.
a long way too.
Simple. Like how many people
Literally.
listening to this are just like so chronically
Thirsty?
dehydrated? Like
Yeah, everybody.
drink your water. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I was talking to James. I was like in my wedding prep era, I am the essence of beauty and health. Like I'm doing all of the things. I have my red light therapy. I do not miss a day. And I was like, I need to order frownies. And I was like, I know Maddie has like a code or something, so I need to get that from her. And he goes, wait, that's so funny. I love you're supporting her before you buy the brownies. And I was like, of course.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
duh.
Like anytime
Uh,
I don't know, Maddie's like the face of frownies. Like
Yes.
I just think you have the most amazing skin. There's no wrinkles on your face. I'm like, this girl did it
uh,
right.
I put a lot of work in because my
Yeah.
sister now she gets like Botox and things like that. So it's like I'm like it's kind of like we'll see what the natural route looks like and
Yeah.
a more cosmetic route and we'll see what happens.
Right.
But she has good skin too. I think it's also just genetics because
Yeah.
my grandma in Mexico, she's how old is she? In her 70s, 80s maybe. She looks so young.
I
Like
love
different
that.
lifestyle too, but like her
Yeah.
skin looks really good. So I think it's also genetics in that way
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope I take after my Italian heritage because my dad's side, like beautiful skin. Hungarian Polish side, no, we get pretty wrinkly. So we'll see.
Uh, I got to keep Allie on a time block because I know she has a haircut.
Oh
So,
yeah,
Oh yeah,
she'll
I
be
need
beautiful.
these awful roots are like so far down. We have
Oh my, I can't even look at you.
no, okay, all right. But like that's my thing. Like I don't care about a lot. Like as far as like looking a certain way. My hair is like a thing and I'm cutting it a little bit because we have an engagement session. It's supposed to be either Saturday or Sunday. Of course it's going to rain. These pictures need to get done because we need to send the save the dates out. I'm like so stressed for like the stupidest reasons, but I was like, I'm going to get my hair done. It's going to be fine. I'm going to do like an anti-rain dance so it doesn't
listen, I saw the best. It was wedding day pictures in the rain in
So
like
did
New York City.
yeah.
Listen, it will work out. They will
Girl, the
still look
amount
pretty.
that we are like just paying for the stupid photographer alone, not stupid, shout out, she's great. But like I just don't want it to rain because like, somebody also said like, "Oh, just have fun in the rain." I'm like,
Yeah, I think those would be cute pictures, honestly.
Yeah.
"Okay, that I'm spending so much on like doing my hair, doing my
Maybe
makeup, the
don't do your
dress."
hair, yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, fuck." I'm like, "No, no, no. No rain." But if it rains Saturday, we have backup Sunday. And then if it rains Sunday, I guess it's just supposed to be done in the rain, but I'm like,
Yeah,
so send anti-rain vibes.
we'll do.
I'll do the best. Alyssa, where can everyone find you?
Instagram is Alyssa Noel 87. So yeah, if you guys want all things poop related, that's where to find me.
And we'll put that in the
The
show notes so you guys can just like
Perfect.
Yes.
scroll and click.
You mean I will because I do the show notes.
Really?
I'm kidding. Thank you, Alyssa. We will definitely have to do another conversation and talk about. I don't even know. We have so many other things we could talk about with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.